only a 15-minute qualifying session, and yesterday the fastest lap for the TCR cars was a 2:22, so you do the math. You're not going to get a bundle of laps around here this morning, so you need to execute, make sure when the tires hit their peak that you do have clear traffic, but also you can pull a good draft around this track as well. If you get the good run up to turn 1 or down to turn 5, that can make a big difference to your lap time.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of deal making going on. Obviously, teammates will be working on that program, but those that are running solo, I'm sure they've been talking to some people. When you run solo and you've got a team that can draft, it's really puts you in a bit of a bind here. As we're watching, this is such a legendary section out of the carousel into the kink, one of the most daunting corners in all of motorsports, I think, and that is the TCR group up front. One of the sessions, it was actually a really strong run. Victor Gonzalez in his VGMC racing, running the Honda Civic Type R, set fast time in one of the sessions. They've been tweaking and working on that car. He got down to the low 221s in the second practice session in front of guys like Vincent and Mike McCann, who was a big winner at the Watkins Glen. Point leader Michael Hertzen as well. And there we have a look onto the front straight is the number 71. That's your point leader, Mike Hertzen. He's out by himself. He wants nothing to do with anybody drafting him.
That's right. He just wants to lay down and hit his marks here early, and then you see the little gaggle right behind him, led by his teammate, Nate Vincent. And yeah, I spoke to Victor Gonzalez as well yesterday. Said they had a few dramas since their stellar runs early in the summer, but he thinks today could be the day where they get back towards the sharp end. And this racetrack, if you're a little sleepy in the morning, this will wake you up quickly, Greg. Perfect conditions, mid-60s right now, ambient. Track's going to be a little bit on the cool side, so probably take a couple of laps, even with this 4-mile circuit, a couple of laps to really get into that sweet spot, and that's when these drivers will really be trying to key on executing a good lap.
And with these long straights, Cal, there are so many crucial corners that may not be the most exciting ones, but they're mightily important. Turn 3, for instance, turn 14. But then you do have the run through the carousel and the kink that's pretty crucial for that long run as well. It really puts a little bit of everything to the test of these drivers, doesn't it? It
does, and what I always felt with these corners, like the one we just saw the drivers go through there, turn 5, this is turn 6 that our championship lead is just executing right now. You're in the corners for quite a long time. It's not like you turn and go. You kind of have to roll speed through there, and if you can get the car set up where you just pick up that fraction of a percentage of grip over 4 miles, that means a lot on the stopwatch.
And another thing about this track is you think about it, particularly 5 and 8 downhill braking zones. You don't have gravity working with you. And then you got the reverse up into turn 6, but it's one of the trickiest corners you can imagine. This track throws it all to you, and this is the carousel. This is one that real drivers lick their chops at. And you exit, carry every bit of speed you can here, and then you got to be willing to almost flat-foot it through this corner.
You do, particularly one of these TCR cars. I mean, they generate a lot of downforce. And with no disrespect to the other circuits that we run on with our championship, this is my absolute favorite from the moment I came here in 1985. Just absolutely love the area, the racetrack, the balance of the corners, the combination. You need a little bit of everything. The brake zones, as you said, are long and they're important. So you've got to have your car working well. And high-speed corners like turn 13 here. This one's a little bit bumpy as you enter in there. And getting your balance there on the brakes, not trying to overcharge the corner and ask for too much, because this exit speed really sets up the lap.
Gonzalez just setting one of the second sector, second sector, a really good time here. But here we go, Hertzen, first lap at real speed. See what kind of time he puts up. It's a good one, a 2:22. But Gonzalez goes through at a 2:21.2, jumps to the top. That was a great first flyer.
Yeah, and here you see him. He's right between the two FCP Euro machines. So if he can have a good lap here, he could, in fact, pull a draft from our championship leader up in front of him. Oh, a little lock up there down into turn 3. He is pushing hard right now, trying to execute this lap. The tires are there. This could be a great lap for him. He's probably going to pull a bit of a draft once he gets to within about 4 to 5 car lengths of the car in front of him.
Yeah, they've got the Medaglia Fabreuse entry really clicking right now. It's Gonzalez, Hertzen, Vincent, McCann, and Walker, your top 5 overall. Ooh, and again, that little bit of lockup. But as you said, unloaded tire really going deep into these brake zones. Brian Putt topping the TCR Cup right now. Johann Schwartz, runaway point leader, and turning car fastest over Toby Grahovic. In TC and in TCA is Chris Haldeman in the 69 X Factor entry that is topping the charts in that class right now. As we keep an eye here on Victor Gonzalez and see if anybody can get down into the 221s with him. You would certainly think so with the conditions as they are right now.
Yeah, it's ideal. Curious to see how Michael McCann Jr. can do. He's got he's got the highest trap speed right now in terms of down the straightaways. And coming off a double victory in the last rounds of the championship, that Audi has certainly been pretty potent at times. We see the 22 off through turn 3, I believe that is.
Yeah, Damon Scherzen just running wide there in the Tech Sport Subaru. He did something very special at the most recent round at Watkins Glen when Nick Whitmer had that big off. Damon said when they realized they couldn't get Whitmer's car fixed in time, he said, "You need to take this car. You're in this points battle. You go after it." He's a class act. Well, I'll tell you, Gonzalez just continues to set fast times here. I mean, Hertzen, you know, is going after it, and Gonzalez is just running him down right now.
He is, and he's gapped Nate Vincent right now. Some of that is down to your starting pressures on your tires, how quickly they come in. If you start them with a little bit higher build, it's going to generate the energy a little bit sooner, but you don't have a lot of time to play with. You can see we're already halfway through this session.
Yep, and let's see, he's got a couple of fast sectors that unfolded again. Hertzen goes through at a 220.3, and Gonzalez a 219.8. Phenomenal lap by Victor Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's got the hammer down, and he had a lot of confidence when I spoke to him yesterday. As I mentioned, he felt that his car was good, and they sorted out some of the little gremlins.
Here's a look at Johann Schwartz continuing, well, was leading in terms of qualifying pace, but Toby Grahovic has now got a 227.669. 227.519, excuse me, to displace Schwartz's 227.6. So Grahovic's provisional pole right now over Schwartz. Toby in the 26 Classic BMW entry. There's a look at James Walker in the Alfa Giulietta.
Ricca goes to the top. 26.9. That's a half a second clear of the pack right now.
Well, he has always been wickedly faster. He's had great runs here in the past in the Genesis Coupe. And obviously still knows how to get around here. Interesting, it's nice to welcome James Clay back to the touring car ranks in the Copart Bimmer World entry. Clay topped both of the practice sessions in touring car, but finding now that the season regulars are dialing it up for qualifying. He sits 4th, Clay does. Here's the 91 of Whitmer heading down into pit lane.
He's got some work to do. That championship took a big turn on him.
Yes, it did.
At the last round where he had a single-digit point score for both days.
Whitmer currently 2nd in TCA qualifying to Chris Haldeman. Whitmer had a 236.1, but Haldeman had a 234.4. It's a 2.5 clear of the field. Haldeman here in the June sprints in the running a very similar car in one of the SCCA classes was just unstoppable. Had a phenomenal weekend qualifying on the pole and winning big time. There's a look at Johan, that West Virginia liveried Rooster Hall Racing BMW. Does he have an 84-point lead coming in here? I mean, he could clinch. Yeah,
today. 75-point lead at the end of the day will give it to him. So even if Toby was to beat him, there's still potential for Johan to clinch and seal the deal, which would be nice to enjoy the last 3 rounds of this championship.
Yeah, just know you've got it in your pocket, be able to go. Let that little bit of psychology play on you here. Again, keeping an eye on the other classes. Haldeman now, it's the 2 Pombos. Nice to have Matt Pombo joining his brother in the...
It's the Pombo combo.
The Pombo combo. In the Minis, of course, the Mini JCW team from LAP Motorsports.
It's a Mini combo.
Mini taking, yeah, he's taking over the car that team owner Luis Pericarpo ran at Watkins Glen. I see Tomas Mieja as well, coming back after a good debut run at the Glen as we watch these 2 guys.
Schwartz still 3rd, so Ricca still leads by a nice little margin, and seems like Grahovic and Schwartz actually backed up a 10th or 2 on that lap from their previous best. McCann Jr. to the top for TCR.
Wow, he has just been impressive. Look at that, fastest in every sector, Cal. 219.353, that's a huge chunk.
I saw his trap speed about 5K quicker than anyone else on his opening laps. I thought if he can piece the lap together, he's got potential.
We saw at Watkins Glen a couple of the moves he made through the S's and up into the inner loop where you can just drive by on the outside, flow through. So they've got that car dialed up in terms of straight line speed. Right now he's trying Trying to get a little toe. Oh, that's gonna hurt. He couldn't get through on the Genesis of Ricca. He had to brake and check up just a little bit. So it's McCann at the 2:19.3 with about a half second over Gonzalez and the rest of the TCR field. Putt continues to hold sway in TCR Cup. Ricca on provisional pole in the TC class, as here comes Chris Haldeman in that number 69 X Factor Racing entry, who right now continues to hang on at the top of the TCA ranks. And I say hang on advisedly because he's got over a second on the field right now over the two Pombos, Whitmer in fourth, then the third of the four minis, Norenberg, sitting in the fifth spot right now.
Yeah, championship leader Maxon, though, is not having a good run here. So way down the order right now. I think he's, well, we got him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's just inside the top 10.
Just. It's interesting, they brought in Dean Copeland. Oh, it was Paul Terry in the Reardon Racing, PT Trucking Audi, or excuse me, Nissan. It finds himself off track. Is that the entrance to the carousel?
It looks
no,
like
that's maybe the exit of 6.
Okay.
No, entrance to the carousel. Ooh.
He's in the wall.
It just got away from him in turn 8, obviously, and boy, he's just grinding along that wall. He's had one of those years, hasn't he? Struggled early, then came back when they solved a braking issue with a big win and great runs, and it's been a kind of an up and down year. Here are the two FCP Euro Liqui-Moly VWs. Apparently, yeah, we've got what we've got. Vincent able to grab that third spot from point leader Hertzen.
Walker currently just inside the top 5 there. The Alfa Romeo.
Is this what you call a brace of minis?
It's the third one there. Oh,
they're all 4 of them.
Oh my goodness.
Trying to work the draft here on this last lap. Checker is out. So if you were able to start that lap, we got the red flag at the same time, and that might mean that this lap won't count.
Yeah. So we're locked in. So McCann grabs that TCR pole, following up on the sweep at Watkins Glen. Jeff Ricca, great to see him with a pole.
Yeah, he had that huge shunt at VIR, and it left him a little bit on the sideline in terms of medical, not just the repair in the cars, got approved to come back, and I'm sure he was glad that one of the first races back was at a track where he has always gone well. But look who late in the session made a huge move, Federo, in the number 23 Bossman Products. Nissan jumps up into second, pushes Grahovic to third, Schwartz to fourth, and Clay sits in the fifth spot.
Not often you don't see a BMW at least on the front row.
Yeah, this is remarkable.
We could have some fireworks here this afternoon in TC race.
In TCA, Haldeman still has that big margin. Then it's Pombo and Pombo. Mark over Matt, 59 over 61 in the minis. Whitmer is fourth, and Norenberg is fifth.
Pombo's not out of that championship.
No.
He's only 15 points back, going for 4 consecutive victories. Mark Pombo, that is. So he can have his assist from his brother and
yeah,
pull him around this racetrack a little bit during the race. It's still 4 rounds to go in this championship, so 15 points back with 100 points on the table still.
And oftentimes with the front-wheel drive car, you think about, you know, the loads, you're asking those fronts to do everything. But this track, you have those long straights where you can give those tires a bit of a breath. Actually, the front-wheel drive cars tend to be pretty good around here in general, don't they?
They do, but taking a breath is talking to some of the mini drivers. They said you get you about halfway down the straightaway and the aero starts to kick in, and it becomes a bit of a blockage in terms of cutting through the air. So, but they're going to give it their all, certainly in qualifying there, right there.
And keep in mind when the races unfold, the TCR Cup and TCA will run together. The TC cars will have their own race that will be unfolding, so they won't be dealing with quite the traffic. So here's a look now at our provisional results, always provisional until they're made final, but McCann continuing a tremendous run with some great momentum after sweeping the Glen. Keep in mind, this is a guy that prior to this year, other than track days, raced off-road four-wheelers, had done no real road racing other than track days, and sweeps the Glen pole here. But Gonzalez showing some great form as well. And you go down the order just a little bit again. Provisional pole in TC, Ricca over Federal and Grahovic. And Johann Schwartz, your point leader, sits fourth. And then in TCA, Chris Haldeman and the X Factor Racing Honda leading the two minis of the Pombo brothers, then point contender Whitmer, and then Norenberg will bring up the fifth place spot. So the racing coming up a little bit later this afternoon.